the big guy. Why didn't he just fucking drag his ass out? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if the gay comedian, by the way, I'm not saying
no, we're not saying that. It's just supposing.
Yeah, I'm just like speculating here. Like, let's say there's a gay comedian, super famous, has a lot of
Rip
power.
Taylor.
It's Rip Taylor.
Who's like, who's gay? Gerard Carmichael, is that his name? The one who just did Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, like let's say he's like skyrocketed. He's super famous now. He's like he's the Eddie Murphy of like the comedy world. And he has all these people that work for him, and there's writers on his show. And he was like, hey, do you mind if I like show you my dick and jerk off? And like these dudes who work for him, like would be in this like really powerless position. I'm like, how would they react to this? My suspicion is they wouldn't like it.
They wouldn't like it. No.
Yeah.
Well, you can't look. These are big companies. They have, they do have human resources.
Yes.
They do have social media backlash. I mean, no, they can't just hire you. I mean, as popular as you are, you're a liability.
Yeah.
And that's up to you, by the way. Your reputation is up to you. But he did a whole thing on his album, which I'm not going to buy. But what he does say is that he asked all these women. So he's just like kind of weird. And like sometimes no means you have to ask twice and something like that. And it's like, no, that's not it.
No.
All right.
Yeah, my prediction, you know what I suspect? He asked, and before he even got an answer, he's fucking whipping out his dick.
Of course he is.
That's probably
he's got a chubby already.
Hey, do you mind if I do this? And he's like doing it while he's asking. I'm like, bleh! Gross.
This is also fucking gross. But it should be gross. You should be thinking like that it's gross because it is gross.
Yes, because it's
not
gross.
Appropriate. It's not appropriate. I don't care. You're in show business and comedians are freaks. That doesn't make it okay.
So the reason we decided to do replay our Max Landis episode is because the clip of Chris What's-His-Face going around was filmed by Max Landis.
And you're about to find out what a huge dick he is in case you didn't know already.
Yeah. I'm sure he thought the jokes were hilarious. Ugh. Creeps gotta creep.
Creeps have gotta creep. That's what's happening with this particular episode. Thank you so much for listening to us. And we have all of the links there in the show notes, but also Sonia says the links for Max in this segment coming up. What else can I say? Please follow us on all the things. Send us your suggestions for creeps and non-creeps. Please follow Alice Hamilton and Jen Kirkman on Twitter. I included their links in there. Watch get Jen's CD, get her comedy album. Watch Alice's special on YouTube.
It's like 30 minutes long and it's free and it's so good.
She has so much confidence. Like she's just such a star in the making.
Yes.
I just feel like we're on the verge of seeing somebody awesome. Like she is already awesome, but just like it's going to be great.
Yes.
So
do it.
Listen to this episode. Be good. Be kind. Don't whip your dicks out. Don't be a creep. We start with someone who's decidedly not awesome. And Sonia, who are we talking about today?
This week we are talking about Max Landis. So if his name sounds familiar, it's because his father is John Landis. And John Landis is best known for directing Animal House and American Werewolf in London, Blues Brothers, Coming to America. But his son, Max Landis, is known for writing a bunch of movies you've probably never seen, like Chronicle. I'm sure you've seen Chronicle. Have you seen Chronicle?
I don't even know what that means. I've seen the Chronicles of Narnia.
He didn't write that one. He also did American Ultra, Victor Frankenstein, and he wrote the next Netflix movie Bright. So you probably have heard of that one.
No.
The one with Will Smith. I didn't watch it.
Nope.
Okay. You're smart, really. He's been the subject of countless articles about how talented he is, and it absolutely has nothing to do with who his father is, I'm sure. A BuzzFeed article in 2003 stated, quote, "He's far from a case of pure nepotism because for every one of the advantages in which he was born, Max Landis has faced a disadvantage to offset it. both of his own doing and those that he could not control.
What does that even mean?
Right?
Oh, that's a gobbledygook sentence.
Yes. It's there. What it means is it's totally not nepotism, you guys. He's super talented, but we see no proof of that. Anyway, even though his movies are almost never successful, he ends up getting better and high-paying gigs. I wonder why. But that's not why Max Landis is a creep. On top of being the son of a famous director and a middling talent himself, Max Landis is also known as a rapist, gaslighter, body shamer, and a physical and psychological abuser. Whee!
Yikes.
Yeah. So I put this episode together with a little help from my friends at The Daily Beast. The Daily Beast they are the ones who broke the really big story. So their story is going to come up often here. BuzzFeed, Heavy, The Los Angeles Times, Vulture, a Medium post written by one of his victims called "I submit the following to the court of public opinion." And then, of course, IMDb and Wikipedia. Always Wikipedia. Let's start at the beginning. Max Landis was born August 23rd, 1985. That makes me feel old.
My God, stop that.
I know. This changed the year. In Beverly Hills. Like I mentioned, his father is director John Landis, and his mother is costume designer Deborah Landis. I feel like I should note that his father, John Landis, is a bit of a creep himself. John Landis was directing The Twilight Zone, the movie, when a helicopter hovering in a Vietnam War scene was damaged by some visual effects like explosions, and it came crashing down and it decapitated actor Vic Morrow, and it killed 2 children that were in the scene. They were young too, 7 and 6.
I remember.
Now, this was a really big deal. Now, one could argue that it was an accident, and accidents happen, but I felt like it's worth noting. The 2 children had never before worked in movies, and they were hired illegally. Their parents were Asian immigrants. They weren't familiar with American work practices, and certainly not the usual practices in a movie industry. They were working without necessary permits, and there was no supervision of a licensed teacher or welfare worker on that set. Those kids probably wouldn't have been in that situation if they had been hired legally.
No, I mean, Vic Morrow unfortunately wouldn't have made it either way. But what I've heard since then is the practice would have been for him to carry 2 dolls that look like kids.
Yes,
because I remember the scene. It's from The Twilight Zone. He's a Vietnam veteran that's kind of going back in time in the middle of the Vietnam War, and he's going across this swamp, and he's holding both kids, and then trying to go through the swamp, and that's when the helicopter went all crazy and fell, and then they were all beheaded. But he should have been carrying props or dolls, not kids. So. Anyway, sorry, but it was a really horrible story. I remember I was young when this happened.
Yes.
And
it's super horrible, and it didn't really impact John Landis's career that much. He was definitely known as kind of a prick, but I mean, he went on to direct other things, and those movies did well. According to the Los Angeles Times, after he was acquitted of charges of involuntary manslaughter, John Landis threw a 1-year anniversary party.
Oh my God.
After the accident, right? What a creep.
Ugh.
Total creep. So, in other words, Max Landis learned a lot about not accepting responsibility for yourself from his dad. As a child, Max Landis had no friends, and his parents referred to him as, quote, Little Hitler.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
This is totally...
Baby Adolf?
I am not making any of this up. He sounds like a delightful child. He was prone to major temper tantrums over stupid shit like lost Nintendo games. He told BuzzFeed that he suffers from something called cyclothymia, which is a form of a bipolar disorder. I don't know if that's true because, a lot of our creeps, Max Landis is prone to, let's say, exaggeration.
Mm-hmm.
He said that in school he was, quote, a geeky, really intense, volatile bully. Pretty cool that he describes himself that way. He said, my parents were incredible and very patient, but I was a scary, impulsive, unpredictable kid. and a child of the 90s, so Prozac, Ritalin, and all that shit. But at the end of the day, none of it helped.
Wow.
That's what he said. Oof. He was kicked out of Beverly Hills High School during his freshman year and was sent to a, quote, therapeutic boarding school in Connecticut. Landis told BuzzFeed that it was a place where people who didn't fit were taught not how to fit in, but how to be okay with not fitting in, and how to be okay and not let your rough edges knock people down and cut people off.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, to be honest. It sounds like, hey, you're not wrong, you're special.
I think it's about building self-esteem. And
I guess so.
And sometimes the kids that are the most obnoxious, and the people in life that are the most obnoxious tend to be the most thin-skinned and actually are really hypersensitive. So maybe somebody just sort of like, hey, you're not wrong. You're just a little different. And this is how you can manage life. I'm not against that, by the way. Yeah.
Like, look, as a mother who's raising a kid with special needs, I totally get that, like, you have to raise your children to be okay with who they are. But you also need to help them, like, navigate the world the best you can and be okay with that. And I think that that's maybe what they were trying to do here. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it worked because he grew up to be a real prick. So Max Landis appeared briefly in some of his father's films, including The Stupids and Blues Brothers 2000. I didn't see either of those. He started writing at 16, and he sold his first script at the age of 18. It was a collaboration with his father, of course, on the Masters of Horror episode, Dear Woman. I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh, yeah. I own it. Yeah. I have a VHS copy still.
By the way, Masters of Horror is probably really great. I'm not shitting on it. Max attended the University of Miami, and that's where he was involved in his first sexual assault case in 2008. By the way, this story wasn't really public until like 2019, but I'm trying to do this somewhat chronologically, so bear with me. The Daily Beast found a heavily redacted legal document, and it shows that Max Landis was involved in a September 2008 Miami case that was in the domestic violence division. They reached out to the woman who was in the form. Her name was Callie Ray, and she confirmed that she filed sexual assault charges against Max Landis in 2008, but she eventually dropped the case. And then she referred the Daily Beast to this friend of hers named Ashley Dion, who witnessed the alleged sexual assault by John Landis. And
Max Landis.
Max. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
No. Yeah. We want to be careful about who we're saying did what.
Sorry. For the rest of the time, you guys, I'm going to be talking about Max Landis. Okay. So I'm sorry if that slips in. I'm going to be very careful here. So Ashley said they were roommates at the time. Ashley said that her friend Callie went out for drinks with Max Landis, and later that night, she woke up to find Max Landis raping her passed out friend.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
How traumatic.
I know. Oh. So she yelled at him, "You need to leave right now." And she said he got up and he quickly pulled up his pants, and that she rushed him. What a good friend.
Wow. And
aggressively demanded that he leave. And then the next morning, Ashley and Callie went to the police and they filed a report. And then when the case finally went to court, Max Landis's lawyer, her mother, and really just bullied her into dropping the charges.
He bullied her and her mother to drop the charges?
Said that, the attorney really scared her. And now, to be fair, I guess that's an attorney's job. But the attorney told her that she was going to make a fool of her on the stand, talk about how much she drinks, her sexual history, then asked her if this is really how she wanted to handle, quote, this issue.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the friend said that Callie was really overwhelmed and that she just started crying and then told her, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. And then, by the way, when you guys, that's not even that long ago that this happened, 2008.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this being in the 70s and having this happen to you and how the police treated that? I mean, it's just, this is why women don't report, because they're going to be, I'm sure she felt humiliated just by the lawyer in that moment. I mean, how would she feel on the stand?
Yeah, exactly. And it still happens. It's still How much did you drink? What were you